Hey, I'm Andy, and welcome to Rock, Roll, and Red Plaid. Tonight on Rock, Roll, and Red Plaid, our guest is one of the greatest rock bass players living today, Billy Sheehan. He has played with Mr. Big, David Lee Roth, Steve Vai, and many, many more. He has some incredible stories. Check this one out. No, thank you
It's
for
my it's my pleasure to be here.
Well, I appreciate that. Hey, right off the bat, I had a great a question. I was talking to a bunch of other bass players. Outside of musicians, not many people seem to be as interested as in bass as they do guitar, for example. Yet, where there's an Eric Clapton, there's a Jack Bruce. Where there's a Eddie Van Halen, there's a Michael Anthony. Where there's a Paul Gilbert, there's you. What do you think makes for a good dynamic between bassists and guitarists?
Well, I don't know. It's probably personality driven, really,
Yeah.
more than or on an equal level to musicianship or musicology or
Mm.
quality or whatever word that would be. Uh, so, yeah, generally, I'm about the drummer.
Ah.
'Cause that's where the rubber meets the road. There, drums and bass. Drums are the foundation. Bass gives them a key.
Mm.
Okay, we have time now. We have whatever the groove is. But what key are we in? And then the bass hits a note, and go, that's what key we're in. And then it builds from there to guitars, and then vocals being probably the most important aspect in popular music. Though there's not all music has vocals, but the popular music generally is built around vocal
Mm.
performance and lyrics. So
Yeah.
but I do pay attention to all other instruments. I'm a big fan of a lot of instruments other than fretted ones with strings. Uh, but yeah, I find that there's a give and take with a guitarist and a bass player sometimes. Sometimes there is not. Sometimes it's all about the guitar and the bass is only a supporting role, and that's great. That's
Hmm.
people
Yeah.
somehow think there's some kind of a hierarchy due to that, but there is not,
No.
uh, in my humble opinion. I mean, you're just holding an E note while the guitar player solos. You're spelling out the key for him to do his thing,
Yeah.
and sometimes you need people, to build the roads and other people to drive on them. So uh, it's an interesting dynamic, and there's no one answer to that. It depends
Mm.
on each individual person, really,
Yeah.
and how they work together. That's why the dynamic within a band, which would be on the same subject, is
Mm.
a very important thing. Uh, who does what? Who takes the lead? Who comes up with the ideas? Who pushes things forward? Who disagrees? All those things. When you break that down between two musicians on two
Mm.
different instruments, there will it'll find a balance. And
Mm.
so I'm happy to hold a note and lay down with the drums a solid foundation for a guitarist
Mm.
or guitarist and singer to do their thing and pull way back. Uh,
Yeah.
that's an important thing to know.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, Selflessness is a
Mm.
very important aspect of personality and humanity, I believe.
I
And
agree.
sometimes I think being yourself and asserting yourself is only really good when you can be selfless also.
Mm.
I mean, there has to be a yes and a no, a black and a white, a high and a low. And so if you can uh, survive and relish selflessness when it's time for you to be yourself, it has more value. oddly philosophically, in my humble opinion, that's what it is. So getting back to your original question, bass sometimes has to be selfless.
Mm.
It's important to you just be invisible and be there, but the focus is on someone else. And so you support them, hold them up, make sure the keys are correct for them, move around. A lot of time when a guitarist is soloing and I'm playing a root note, I can move to a harmony alternate note, which won't change what key he's in, but it'll make the sound of what he's playing different. We used to call it secret note back in the day. Guitar players, soloing over the thing, and suddenly you go down to another note, and his solo is still in key, but it sounds completely different. The chords that's most common in, I believe that phenomenon is most when you hear "Stairway to Heaven," and it's A minor, G, F.
Yes.
And he's playing in A minor, but when he hits that G, the A minor sounds different. When he hits the F, it sounds different again, but it's still the same notes. So you can really assist a player to sound like he's doing more than what he is by moving the root note around underneath him as a bass player. Now, some guitarists can't hang with that because if they hear the root note change, they lose their perspective. And I've seen it a lot. And some very accomplished guitar players too. They just want you to hold one note. And if you move, they are lost. And in jazz, the idea of playing over changes. The music changes, but you play over it and follow it, which is a very difficult thing to accomplish. Many are geniuses at it, but I see a lot of guitarists now who have a tough time if anything moves or changes behind them.
Yeah.
So I think that's a thing a guitarist could concentrate on more, is to understand that. And as a bass player moves the root note around a little bit, we're still in the same key. Don't change a thing, but I'm going to move over here. And suddenly it sounds different. It sounds more. It sounds like the guitarist knows more than what he actually does. He's still playing in the same key, but it sounds like he's doing some great stuff. And I like that. So if I can make the guitarist sound better or feel better or feel like he's doing something, and the vocalist in the same manner, I enjoy doing that. I over-answered the question. I'm sorry.
That is why I wanted you to hear, because that was so great. That was fantastic. And yeah, I gotta say, first time I had seen you do what you do. It was was right when I started playing guitar about 20 years ago, and I saw the Crossroads DVD with you and Steve Vai and Tony McAlpine all playing each other's guitars at one point. I'm going, what is going on here? Because I had just been playing for a couple months at this point, and my head turned into scrambled eggs. It's like, what is going on here?
That was meant as comedy, actually.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah, but it definitely got a good rise,
But it was and it wasn't necessarily a really difficult thing to do, but it required some coordination. Reach over and play his thing, and reach over and play his thing. And it was when I see it now, and I knew we just did it as kind of a goof.
Yeah, a goof.
It required some skill and some innovation to get those notes. And it actually came together really well. I remember we put that together in the rehearsal. And what can we do that would, hey, how about that? Well, I'll reach over and grab it. Well, no, as long as you're grabbing that, you come over and grab it. Hey, well, you come over. And then we turn it into a thing. And when I see it now, because I'm not there, when you're in the middle of something, you don't notice a lot of things about it until you leave. Now, when I see it now, especially on the Crossroads Festival thing, I thought, wait, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. My next question, you probably answered this before, but the quote unquote big in Japan phenomenon with Mr. Big, what was your initial reaction to hearing that for the first time, and was there any adjusting getting into that market?
Well, it's kind of a myth because a lot of bands think, oh, we're a Western band, they're going to love us. Not true.
Right.
I know bands, for a pretty famous band too, that went over there once, never got asked back again. Never. And they were famous
Okay.
in the rest of the world too, but they just did not hit the mark for them.
Mm.
Uh, when I went there, first time there, I did a Yamaha clinic.
Hmm.
Uh, to me, I didn't know. Generally, a clinic is in a music store, maybe 30, 40 people, maybe 100 people,
Yeah.
sometimes two or 300 if it's a big one.
Hmm.
So we're playing at NHK Hall, which is like a 3,000 seater, and it's sold out. I remember
Whoa.
backstage, he goes, "So how many? What do you guys rope off like half of the seats and like half?" They go, "No, no, it's sold out." I better start practicing here. Oh, I had no idea. And so that was really cool. And for our walk-in music, I played the Mr. Big demo,
Hmm.
which had a lot of the songs from the first record on it.
Hmm.
And so they heard that and they heard about that. So that was the beginning.
Mm.
Another great advantage we had is our manager, Herbie Herbert, one of the founding fathers of the music biz as we know it today. In
Mm.
fact, he was best friends with the main promoter in Japan, Mr. Udo, who
Hmm.
initially promoted all of Southeast Asia and then eventually just shrank down to just mostly just Japan. But he's a
Hmm.
very, very influential and wonderful man.
Hmm.
And they both were on our side. So that helped, but that wouldn't necessarily guarantee success
Right.
unless all those little ears in the audience
Hmm.
heard something that they could tune into.
Right.
So when we went there, we hit it as hard as we ever do
Hmm.
at any show. We didn't expect any favor from the audience or any automatic anything.
No.
We shook every hand, signed every autograph. We would often, this before internet, so we'd get envelopes of fan letters,
Hmm.
usually dropped off at the soundboard and to get all delivered to us backstage. And we would get a huge pile of not only envelopes, and in the envelope was a pen, a stamped, addressed envelope, stationery, for you to make it so easy for you to respond. You just take the pen, saying "Thank you very much" or "Arigato,"
Wow.
or put it in there and take it down to the front desk, and it's already and it's off. So they really made it easy for us to respond. And then on top of all the letters we got, which I answered every single one, I put a pick inside there, say "Thank you very much," signed it off, whatever, do whatever they needed me to do, sign something else, and put it in there. I took care of every single. As a matter of fact, I was looking at reviewing photos of my archives, and there's a photo of the pile of open mail, literally this big around and about 1.5 feet high. And then on top of that, the gifts that we got were unbelievable. They're
Wow.
expensive and beautiful, wonderful gifts and treasures. I still have a lot of them around my house. Just
Sure.
so they were quite nice to us. But we made sure to respond to everything. And then after show, a lot of bands would just go through the lobby and go to the room. We would stop and say hi to everybody, take photos with everybody, stay there until the last one was taken care of. Just our most recent tour in Japan, I think it was in Osaka. Outside the hotel, there was a lot of kids. And so, and it's very safe in Japan. So I said, well, I'm going to go out and sign for a while. So I went out there. They organized their own line. They all got in a line. And the line
That's
was about
awesome.
2 blocks long. And I stood there, and every person that came up and signed the thing and took a photo and thanks very much, shake their hand. Okay, next, hey, thank you very much. Blah, blah. And it was a riot. We had such a great time and met so many amazing people. We did stuff like that constantly. One time we did a show in front of I think about 8,000 people.
Hmm.
And at the end of the show, we're going to split the band into two. Me and Paul on one side, Pat Torpy and Eric on the other side, and we're going to shake everybody's hand.
Hmm.
So they did it, and they had so Paul and I we did half. It's just choose. They split the crowd in half.
Sure.
But we
Sure.
shook 4,000 hands in
Wow.
one evening, and the other guys they shook 4,000. So we did things like that all the time, and we really went above and beyond the call of duty always. We got there early, stayed late,
Love
went the
that.
extra mile all the time. So
Love
that
that.
eventually did pay off for us.
Yeah.
And it paid off for us in the traditional sense, of course, because we could go there and play and earn a living. But it also paid off in such an enrichment from that culture and those people. We were there just recently, and I'm in the Tokyo train station
Hmm.
to go to the next city for the next show.
Sure.
And there's thousands and thousands of people. There's a mass of humanity. Not a single scrap of litter anywhere. Not a single instance of graffiti anywhere. Nothing is broken. Nothing doesn't work. Nothing isn't open or working.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing, especially now because America, sadly, is in a sad situation.
Yeah.
But man, and I've been to other countries, and I want to mention the country's name, where no matter what, something's broken. There's a screw missing, the light is out, everything is bent,
Yeah.
there's litter and filth and graffiti
Yeah.
everywhere. And it's sad. It's sad because
It is. Yeah.
people are people, and
Yeah.
people have a heart, and people want what's good. And I have respect for no matter what your situation you're in.
Sure.
That's perfectly all right. There's
Yeah.
nothing against anybody that
Yeah.
finds himself in this situation. But in Japan, they are really run a tight ship. So what they saw in Mr. Big, and I'm not sure exactly what it was, but they liked. And
Mm.
we would have a show where we'd start out like the first 2 or 3 songs, we hadn't found our mark yet.
Mhm.
And about 4 songs in, okay, now we hit it. We're rolling off to the races.
Oh yeah.
You can kind of find your spot, especially if you're
Yeah.
jet lagged and all that stuff. And we get emails, or snail mail. They'll say, "We noticed that by the 3rd song, and then the 4th song. And how did you know that?" Because many times, and this is a phenomenon I talk with all the musicians about all the time. You'd be on stage, and nothing's working, and the monitors are feeding back, and you can't hear anything, and so the guy started the wrong song, and nothing is working, and I just up there like, oh my God, it's the worst night ever. Get off stage, go, how was the show? And that was the greatest show I've ever seen. It was unbelievable. And we're thinking, that was, I'm thinking, so then you do another show, throw the bass up in the air, catch it on the right note, hit the harmonies, they're right on, everything lands where it's supposed to land. We're looking at each other like, we did it! Woo! How's the show? Yeah, it was okay. So there's a disconnect. But in Japan, I didn't always see that. It was an odd phenomenon. They could see what was going on, and they were pretty accurate about it.
Yeah.
They watched us very closely. And there's kind of a myth also the Japanese audience are tame and they just sit there politely. I think it was Tommy Lee. We're rehearsing at this place in LA, and all the bands rehearsed there. And I think Motley Crue was there, and Tommy Lee stuck his head in. Hey, how you guys doing? Yeah, goes, we're good. We're going to Japan. He goes, oh yeah, we played there, and the people just don't respond. And we looked at each other and didn't say anything. He closed the door and goes, they sure do for us. For example, we were, pardon the off color of this next example, but we were playing, and there was a young lady in the audience, and she took her top off, unheard of. And they don't
sure, yeah, that's no
unheard of. Well, she took her top off, and nobody saw her because they were all watching us. I'm telling the other guys, hey, come on, all right, check it out. Holy cow, unbelievable. So, but nobody saw her because they were all standing and screaming and roaring.
Just watching the show,
Yeah. So I'm supremely grateful for the set of circumstances that allowed us to have that kind of a relationship with those wonderful people. I love them so much, and I learned so much of their culture, and you got just hundreds, if not thousands, of great friends there. And I'm a Yamaha guy too, Japanese company.
Hey,
wonderful to me. Their basses are awesome, and it's been an incredible experience. And when we did our final show there recently on the farewell tour I'm on now, Mr. Big, for the last night of Budokan, our last show there, I did a little speech and we brought everybody up on stage.
I saw that, yeah.
And there wasn't a dry eye. Well, when Pat Torpy's wife and son came out, there wasn't a dry eye in the house.
Oh my gosh.
Amazing. And they roared and roared and roared for us. And we probably could have done 5 nights. We did 2 just to be reasonable. But because I know people would have come to multiple nights. We don't want to impose upon them.
Some people probably did come to both. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Some people travel us all around to see every show we did. So it's quite an amazing phenomenon. And we've also had great situations in a lot of other countries and areas in that part of the world. In the Philippines, they sing the guitar solos They sing the notes of the guitar solos as they're playing the whole place, and
Depending
they
on the
sing
song, that
along.
could be hard to do.
Oh, they would do it. It's amazing. Uh, Thailand,
Yeah.
unbelievable. Indonesia, we were one of the we played in some places in Indonesia were the first Western band ever to play in some cities, and
Wow.
just incredible people. And
Wow.
it's really an enriching, incredible thing to go to Japan and Southeast Asia, as well as Europe and South America and
Sure.
parts of
Yeah.
America too, and that we
Yeah.
haven't been to. But it was quite amazing because at least in Europe, it's the same alphabet. Where in Japan, I'm not sure what that is. So,
Right.
so quite awesome.
I
Anyway, I
no,
over-answered again. I
that is
apologize.
quite all right. No problem. I just my little bit of I don't know where I heard this, but the Japanese bullet train, the average delay is 6 seconds, I've heard.
It's not they're on it, and it's
Unbelievable.
clean. It's like sitting in your grandmother's living room clean. I
Yeah.
mean, it is
Yeah.
clean and it is righteous. And you see the train stops and the cleaning girls go roaring in, rip through the thing. Then the door opens for you to go in, and it's clean and perfect. The only problem
Unbelievable.
with the bullet train is if you're riding it to see the scenery, you can only see the scenery in the distance because the scenery close up is going by so fast you can't
Yeah.
you can't see anything. So it's dead quiet,
Yeah.
smooth as silk, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
I urge if you want to have an incredible otherworldly experience, go to Japan
Hmm.
for several reasons. First of all, safe. You're very safe, a very safe country. Kids walking around sometimes at 10 or 11 at night, and they're perfectly safe. They're okay. I mean, it's not without crime, but it's very, very safe. Safe for
Yeah.
women, safe for young people. Uh,
Yeah.
the food is a whole other world. Uh, English is spoken pretty generally. And
Hmm.
if they don't know, my iPhone iTranslate app now is amazing.
Yeah.
I used to test it out on my wife, and she's Italian, and the old ones, and I type it in there, and I go, you go, that's not really what you're saying. The new one it's right on, and
Very
in
good.
every language, it's quite amazing. I'll say I get a little complicated and use oddball words and phrasing, and it does
Sure.
it.
Very good.
But to go to
Um,
Japan, you
yeah.
will is quite a life changing experience. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, cool. Thank you. Um, of course, you were in David Lee Roth's band during the Eat 'em and Smile era, and part of Skyscraper, is it also?
Played on the record, did not do the tour.
Gotcha.
A lot of
Um,
people that saw that tour think I was on it, which drives me
no.
crazy because Matt Bissonette, who's a dear friend and an amazing
Oh
player,
yeah,
doesn't look
that's
anything like me. It doesn't play anything
no,
like me. So
no. Well, Matt's great. I've never seen. But whilst touring with Dave, what did you learn from him? I'm sure the stories are for days, but like probably as an entertainer, I'm getting at what did you
it's like
um
getting a PhD in showbiz 101. And that was my whole Van Halen starting in 1980, touring with them all the way up to 85, playing with Dave up through 87 when I left. Uh, it was a PhD in showbiz, how to do a show live and blow people's minds and do it right.
mm,
They were grandmasters at it.
uh,
So I still to this day many many rules I won't violate because I learned uh, from the masters really. Van
yes.
Halen, Dave especially. Dave was just a
Yeah.
genius at presentation of
Mm,
what the band was. So pretty great.
awesome. Going to moving forward in time, Sons of Apollo. I loved that band and those records you guys did. Obviously, Mike Portnoy is back with Dream Theater now, and of course you guys weren't the only one with this issue. But what is it to keep a supergroup together? I know I hate the term supergroup too, but what is it really with keeping
It's
everybody?
no different than keeping any other band together. If the people can get along and it works, and you can deal with each other in a sensible, civilized manner, it'll probably
Right.
be okay. If
Yeah.
you don't have such a lot of people talk about musical differences. I think musical differences are pretty rare, actually,
Mm, yeah.
because I'm really broad spectrum in my music. Everything from Bulgarian choir to uh, Indian or Pakistani and rockabilly and garage bands of the '60s. You name it, I'm
Yeah.
a fan of it pretty much. So I don't think it's, but it's more personality again that
Yeah.
you can either get along or can't. That's why I say a lot of people say, what kind of advice do you give for young players? And I said, there's three things really all important for and broadly important. Number one, get in a band. Number two, get in a band with songs. Number three, get in a band with songs that you sing.
Mm.
Run the numbers. The most successful musicians in the world did exactly that. Almost
Mm.
all of them 1-to-1. That was their formula. Paul McCartney, arguably the richest musician in the world, got in a band, got in a band with songs that you sing. So
Mm.
now, breaking that down, getting in a band, well, so what? So you're in a band. No, you learn so much when you get in a band. You got to work with other musicians, give and take, push and pull, figure out who does what, who sings what, who is. It's a whole education in working within a group of people, whether that group is NASA or coal miners or a band.
Mm.
You need to learn the dynamic of a group in order to function and do your job.
Mm.
And so that is a huge step for a lot of people that have never got in a band or started a business, which is what it is, and been able to work with other people. Now, music is specialized in that we're dealing with music too. Our product is something we are creating from nothing. There's
Mm.
nothing there. I remember being in a record store when the first Mr. Big record came out. Pat Torpey, God rest his soul, he picked up our CD and he goes, a couple of months ago, this was just an idea. He's right. It was
It's
just an
true.
idea.
Yeah.
Now there it is. And now there are people buying it and listening to it and
Yeah.
whatever. So the experience of being in a band is extremely important. So super group or not, whatever the moniker you want to put on it,
Wow.
I think they say that when people from other successes and other bands get together. But it's still no different than when you were in high school. And I know a guy that plays guitar. Yeah, I know a
Yeah.
drummer. Okay, well,
Yeah.
let's get together. It's really the same thing. Uh,
Yeah.
I think they'll point to egos and things like that. But most guys I know in the biz, they're just regular
No.
folks, and there aren't a lot of
No.
clunkers left out
No.
there.
I.
Because usually by being in a band, that first step, that people get weeded out. If they can't get along with people, or they're
Yeah.
insufferable,
Yeah.
you're not going to go very far. And that's
Yeah.
another reason why that first step of getting in the band, you learn what to do to not piss other people off.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know if I've learned that yet. No, I'm kidding. Um, uh, I'm only half serious on that. But and vice versa. And what can you tolerate? You can tolerate. You
Mm.
know, it's funny when you're rehearsing and somebody takes the shoes off and has stinky feet. We're all laughing about it. When you're on a tour bus for 6 months, you get pretty tired of stuff like that. So
Oh
you
yeah.
really need to understand so much. So that's the get in the band part,
Yeah.
and I think that applies to super groups, if you will,
Yeah.
the same as it does to kids in high school.
Yeah. Kind of a lack of a better term just to use because just because like you said it's from this person that person. I mean, I had Bumblefoot on the show not too long ago and great to have him. Just another musician to talk to. Really great dude, you know.
Yeah, we're all just we're all in this together, and
Yeah.
we're all. That's why
Yeah.
the ego or thinking that there's some hierarchy because you're. I never went with
No.
that.
No.
And I see sometimes people inaccurately remember things. And I saw some guy post about how he knew me back in Buffalo, and I knew, and his sister was my girlfriend. None of it added up, and that I was some ego freak, and he wrote down, yeah, Billy Sheehan's a great bass player. Just ask him. And I thought, never in my life have I ever asserted that I'm anything. To me, I suck because I'm still learning. There's so many things I want to conquer that I haven't conquered yet. So it's interesting how the dynamic uh, floats around in that manner.
Always learning.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're always
Uh,
learning.
Question from a listener. When I put this out to our listeners that you were coming on, Andrew Dow from New York City had a question to say. In this time of overwhelming information overload, what is your advice for having a career in music today?
Okay, Andrew. Well, actually, today is a great time for music. People sometimes lose sight of that because we don't have MTV anymore, and there's no more record stores really, and it's all download, and people aren't making the kind of money and downloads that they thought they were going to make. But in fact, if you peel away some of that, the truth of the matter is, this is a little laptop you're looking at me on now, a little MacBook Air. I can do a whole record and movie on this thing,
Mm,
and mostly with free software too. I
yeah.
mean, if you want to invest in Pro Tools and I some video thing or whatever, you can do anything on that. And I can quality of musical instruments is fantastic, and they're relatively low price. And you're a couple of clicks away from billions of people. Pretty amazing. And your social media is free, and you can post all your stuff up there. Now, your job is to catch eyeballs and ears. That's the tough part, of course, but nevertheless, the playing field is much more equal now. Before, unless you had a record deal with hundreds of thousands of dollars to pay for this massive studio costs, you were no one's going to hear from you. Now, anybody with a laptop or even on an iPhone, you can
Yeah.
record a whole
Yeah.
record on an iPhone. I've heard them,
Yeah.
and it sounds great. I've seen guys that do an entire video to their song, all shot on the iPhone. It's amazing.
Yeah.
We started out in the MTV days. You couldn't do a video really for under $50,000. It's pretty tough to do a video for under $50,000. There were some that were cheap
Hmm.
and did really good, which made everybody mad that they spent $50,000. But and our manager back in the day, Herbie Herbert, famously said, "Well, if I can take $50,000 and do a video, and then MTV decides not to play it, I should have taken the $50,000, put it in a pile on the street, and lit it on fire. At least I would have gotten warm." Because it was a gamble. Now
Yeah.
you can post your video on YouTube, on Facebook, and blah blah blah, and millions of things, and share it and do it. So it really is a great time for music, and you can collaborate with other musicians anywhere in the world, like we're talking right now. So now the downside of that is, well, two aspects of the downside. Potentially anybody can do it.
Mm,
The chances of you getting it are very slim.
mm.
But like the lottery, anybody could win it. But the chance that it's you it's one in 100 million. Now it's not that bleak though,
Right.
because one great thing about music, even if you didn't make millions, and you're on playing the Super Bowl halftime and like that, you're still playing and you're doing your music, and there's people that love it, even if it's a small amount.
Right.
People that love your music, and it will become endearing to each other, and an important thing. And plus, as music, as a gig, as your passion, man, there's nothing better. I get a lot of emails from people saying, I'm in my 60s now. I say, go back and start playing again. And they get their buddies together and they have a couple of beers in their garage and start going through the old songs. And wow,
Right.
this is fantastic. So it's incredibly therapeutic and incredibly enriching and enlightening. So not really, the downside is not so down. At least you will have
Right.
made music and
Yeah.
reach people. But I do believe that try to be as positive about it as possible. And you see people come from nowhere.
Right.
I saw this kid. His name is Ethan something. Kind of a curly hair, plays piano like a fiend, ripping up and down the thing, drops dead. This beat comes in and he sings into the mic. And on the second half of the screen are people reacting to him, and people are blow their mind. This kid is unreal. So, and all he had was a camera and a mic and his piano, and now he's blowing up on the internet.
Wow.
And I'm sure
Yeah.
if he does a live show, it's gonna be jammed. It's just
Sure.
so. But he delivered an amazing product. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's one very important thing. You got to be awesome. You got to be great. You got to be something that no one has seen. And it doesn't mean you got to be the fastest and the most overwhelming. The most subtle, beautiful Ed Sheeran, when he came out, just a guy with a guitar. I think he was busking somewhere, playing
Yeah.
for for spare change.
I think it was. Yeah.
And some huge guy saw him and said, "Man," and gave him a chance. So that bang, and there he is. And it's just a beautiful, incredible songs, tear jerking. I just produced a guy named John Statham, Jon John Statham, and he does these. It's a little countrified, and I'm not a country guy at all, but the songs were just so good, I couldn't resist it. And every
Right.
time I'd have some people over, we come to my little studio here and listen to iTunes and have a few
Hmm.
drinks. They go, "Check this out, play him, John Statham." Oh my God, there are people in tears at this
Yeah.
guy. And he's,
Yeah.
I don't know what will happen with the record, but I would put that record up against anything.
Right.
This is just this amazing potential. So, yeah, it can be tough uh, to get rolling at any time. But now,
Right.
if you look at it the right way, it could be an amazing thing. You do the right thing at the right time in front of the right people, and bang. Then to sustain that, that's the hardest part, into your second record or another hit,
Yeah.
uh, that's another story. But I'm pretty positive. I think now is a great time, Andrew, and I wish you luck with whatever you choose to do.
Hey, Billy, thank you so much. And I think we have everything, and I'm going to stop the tape right here. For more of my original content, visit my website, www.andyconley.com.